Let us close the eyes for a moment, remembering all pervading divinity, remembering the masters. We'll chant Om Sahanavavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May Divine protect us all. May Divine nourish us with wisdom and knowledge. May we get good understanding with our study and discussion. May there be no discord among us. May there be more love and peace within and everywhere. I humbly bow to one formless God. I bow to all the saints and sages of all times and places. I bow to Sage Patanjali for this beautiful knowledge in the form of Yoga Sutra. I bow to lineage of Kriya Yoga masters, and I bow to living presence of divine in all of you. Good afternoon and good evening. In our previous class, we discussed about pranayama, which is the most important aspect of yoga practice, especially Kriya practice. Pranayama is the key to liberation, and all other different techniques which are practiced in any form of yoga, they are supporting pranayama and then go to a state of meditation. Now, in today's class, we will focus on the other aspects because we begin our discussion on Ashtanga Yoga, the 8 limbs of yoga. So 8 limbs, Yama, Niyama, Asana, they are external limbs, and Pranayama, the most important one, we can discuss last time. So today we will cover 3 internal aspects. And what are those? So today we'll come to our discussion with the next book, which is Vibhuti Pada. So Vibhuti Pada, this begins with the first verse, and that first verse is the third book, Vibhuti Pada, first verse, where Sage Patanjali is speaking about dharana. Up to pranayama, then pratyahara. Now, the internal aspect, the first five are the external aspect, you can say, but now these are very internal aspects. So, the first sutra in the third book, it says, Desha bandha chittasya dharana. Desha bandha chittasya dharana. Concentration. Dharana means concentration. So fixing the mind on one place is known as concentration. So any specific point we take, whether outside the body or inside the body, but just one point, one object we take, and we try to focus on that. So it is dharana, which is concentration. In other way, we can say dharana means it is one pointed attention or just one thought. So as Sage Patanjali first talked about the 5 external aspects in the second book, now third book, we are going to discuss this dharana. When attention is fixed, means when the mind is absorbed with a modification. Modification, you know that we discussed in the beginning, chitta vritti, the modifications of mind. So when our mind is absorbed with a modification at the navel center, in the heart center, or in the light at the soul center, or top of our head, or you can say tip of the tongue, or any external object. So then breath is controlled. So with concentrating with the mind at any object, we practice our breath. So first we do dharana. This is known as dharana. So the dharana, this word in Sanskrit, it is derived from root verb dhru, D-H-R-U, dhru, and dhru means to hold, to bind. Or you can say the literal meaning of dharana is the act of holding or supporting. Or you can say good retentive quality of mind, to hold on to some object. Or you can say also keeping the mind collected, holding the breath, as well as fortitude, firmness, steadiness, or affixed precept, understanding and conviction. These are different meanings of word dhru. But here, dhru or dharana means to hold or to keep the mind collected or just one pointed. So in this sutra, when Sage Patanjali is telling, Desha bandhaha chittasya dharana. So this concentration or dharana is Desha bandha chittasya dharana. So in this, we can say this concentration of dharana leads a practitioner or seeker into the inner chamber of yoga. Like before dharana, pranayama, pratyahara, so we are trying to regulate our breath, or you can say when we are trying to keep our mind on certain other external aspect. But now we are more going into the inner practice with dharana. And that is why we use chakras in, especially in the practice of Kriya Yoga. The human mind is restless by nature. And we can compare our mind with diffuse light. When the sunlight is focused with the help of a convex lens, it generates fire. And we must have observed and also experimented in our childhood that we used to take a that small glass, and then we were putting on a piece of paper. When the sun rays are concentrated, and we within minute we could see that with magnifying glass, that when the sun rays are focused, the paper is completely burning. So this is the example that how dharana helps us to go more deeper. So similarly, when the mind is focused on a spatial point, it generates a lot of energy, just like the paper is burned with the convex lens. So also, whenever we try to keep our mind focused on a very special point, it can be chakra, it can be some divine aspects within, it generates lots of energy. And that's the way we can focus our mind from external aspect to go a little bit more further in the next step. And you can find in Bhagavad Gita, there's a beautiful example in the Bhagavad Gita. There's a verse where Lord is mentioning about dharana, and Lord is telling about shanahe shanahe uparmed buddhya dhriti grahitaya atma sanस्थम manah krutva na kinchidapi chintayet. So if you read in the 6th chapter, where Lord is talking about the meditation, how to sit, in which posture to sit, and what should be our goal what should be the place. So lots of instructions are there in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. The 25th and 26th verse, they talk about this, that having abandoned all the worldly desires, keeping them outside, and our selfish moods born out of thought, we should maintain thorough control of our sense organs and then meditate without thinking of anything else. Na kinchit api chintet. Not to think about anything, but just keep the mind focused on one object and then go into meditation. And this 26th verse in Bhagavad Gita tells, Yato yato nisharati manas chanchalam asthiram tatastato niyamyaitat atmanneva vasham nayet. For whatever reason, the unsteady mind, always in a state of flux, escapes control. One must bring it back to the self and then return it to the tranquility. So, by nature, mind is always restless, but we need to keep it at one point, and then from there we have to absorb this mind. So, first comes dharana. And dharana, just to tell you that there is a beautiful description in Shandilya Upanishad. Shandilya Upanishad tells about 5 types of dharana. There are 5 divisions of dharana. It says Prithivya, Teja, Apa, Vayava, Akasheshu, Panchamurti Dharanam Cha Iti. Means there are 5 kinds of dharana, namely Prithivi, or you can say Parthivi. So Parthivi dharana means when we keep the mind focused between anus and navel. That means between bottom center and navel center. So that is called Parthivi. And again, these 5, they are correlated with 5 elements, gross elements of the body. So Prithvi Tattva, earth element, between anus and navel. So it is dharana, Parthivi. Then Jaliya, Jali means what? Jal, water. So in the navel, again, it's not exactly in this chakra, but related to that chakra. So Jaliya dharana means when we focus our mind in the navel center, we come to this Jaliya dharana, means on the water element. Then Agni means fire. So above the navel center, little above the navel center towards the heart, that's the place where we can focus our mind. So in our Kriya practice, we focus on chakra because they are related. And this is called Agneyi. Then Vayaviya dharana means between the navel and the nose. So in between, this is Vayaviya. Vaya means air element, and Akashiya, the space element. So from eyebrows to fontanel, when we keep our mind focused, we do dharana there, that is Akashi dharana. This is from Shandilya Upanishad. However, so basic principle is for dharana, we need some object. And in Kriya practice or in many other yogic practices, the best thing for dharana is to do dharana or concentration in the chakras. So now when we focus on the chakra, keep the mind there, we also get control over the related elements, gross elements of the body, and we can overcome the obstacles related to that, which comes as a yogic siddhi, or it will come in the next verses when we'll finish these 8 limbs. After that, we'll come to that discussion. They are known as yogic powers. So, desha bandhasya chittasya dharana. Now, in this sutra, Sage Patanjali has very elaborately discussed the technique of developing concentration. Because according to Sage Patanjali, concentration is the art of confining the mind within a limited mental area, desha. Because he says desha bandha. So desha means a place. So a small area, limited area, for example, just focusing in the soul center. So not nowhere else, only in soul center. So that is a desha, small place. Desha ordinarily is translated as the place or a spot or even the space, a small space. And it can be external, it can be internal, depending on what kind of yoga you are practicing. Or sometimes it is mystical. So from the yogic viewpoint, for dharana, it can be just one point or one object, one image, one chakra, or even in the mantra. Or sometimes we use as the flow of breath for dharana also. So, or sometimes it is specific sound. We are just focusing on that sound. So one should develop one's own method. Now, those who practice Kriya, they know that how many different objects, divine objects we have for dharana or concentration. So when we practice like divine light, divine sound, divine pulsation, chakra and breath, these are all for concentration, for dharana. And then we have to move forward. So even if we feel them, we experience them, it's fine. If don't, there's nothing big deal about that, because we use them as tool, as the instrument, or you can say the means. They are not the goal of our practice. Since the mind is always in a flux, it should attain a single dimension for concentration. So we bring the mind from all other thoughts to just one thought. That is called concentration or dharana. This concentration needs further elaboration. The external place of concentration may include all names and forms. And it can be like in external dharana, when we try to focus our mind, it can be a point on the wall or in a piece of paper, you are just focusing on that. It can be a flame of a lamp or candle in some undisturbed place. And it can be a form of any deity. It can be a form of any deity or divine being. And sometimes, like some people love Jesus, some people love Lord Krishna. So some abstract object like a flower, ocean, river, or mountain. So this is the external object for concentration. So any name and form externally, it is external object for concentration. But the internal place of concentration includes focusing the mind on pleasure, pain, or other such states. You feel love, you feel joy. So that is inner place of concentration. The metaphorical places of concentration are the chakra. For example, we have 7 chakras like Sahasrara, Agya, Vishuddha, Anahata, Manipur, Swadhisthana, and Muladhara. Means from fontanel to bottom center. The 7 chakras, they are the metaphorical places for concentration. And in some practices, the devotees, they concentrate in the heart, or some devotees use the mantra for concentration, or just on the breath. Some practices of yoga, they do some special music or divine sound om. So these are all some metaphorical place of concentration. So it can be external, it can be internal. So in Kriya practice, most of the internal dharana or objects we use. Now in this sutra, when Sage Patanjali is telling Desha Bandha Chittasya Dharana. So bandha means steadiness here. Bandha means to bind or lock. So here bandha indicates steadiness or closure or binding, or you can say fixity. So sage is describing how to control over the mind through the practice of yoga by choosing a better point of concentration. In second book, the sutra number 53, Sage Patanjali, when he is talking about pranayama, we discussed in the last class, the practice of pranayama. He says that one develops the power of concentration with pranayama. So when we regulate the breath, we get power of concentration, means concentration becomes much deeper. And That's why we use breath at the later stages. To this enhanced state of concentration, one can have many different experiences. So when we practice pranayama and then we start having better concentration, then we get some yogic experiences. They are known as vibhuti. And for that reason, the third book in Yoga Sutra is called Vibhuti Pada. The chapter which is about the attainments, yogic attainments or achievements. Remember, the mind is the cause of all troubles, but it can also be the tool of calmness and peace. So when we practice pranayam as taught by our guru preceptor, then the mind can be made peaceful and steady, and that opens the door to success. So in short, we just discuss dharana to make our mind one-pointed using some external or internal object. Now we'll come to the next sutra. The next sutra is about the dhyana. So after dharana, the next is called dhyana. What is dhyana? So in the second sutra of third book, Sej Patanjali is talking about meditation. Tatra pratyaya ekatanata dhyanam. Tatra pratyaya ekatanata dhyanam. Ekatan means uninterrupted, continuous. So meditation is the uninterrupted flow of knowledge. We have knowledge, but because our mind is so distracted that we remain in ignorance. We forget our reality, but when we start concentration dharana, we go forward, and then slowly when we enter into the state of meditation, means we become one with that object on which we are meditating or which we are concentrating. We become one with that. That's the state of meditation. It is uninterrupted flow of knowledge. Pratyaya ekatanata. Now, there are two types of meditation, dhyana. One is called saguna dhyana, other is nirguna dhyana. Saguna dhyana means meditation on some form. In many different traditions, the seekers, they meditate on some form of deity. Even if you see that mostly in ritualistic practices, when we invoke divinity in any form, so there is always dhyana mantra. So we meditate upon the divinity with closed eyes, and the mantra which we chant, so we feel that. For example, Lord Ganesha, we chant the mantra with folded hands and meditating upon Lord Ganesha. Kharvam sthulatanum gajendra vadanam lambodaram sundaram, like that. So what we are doing, we are meditating on this form of deity. Kharvam sthulatanam, that Lord Ganesha is having a big body. Gajendra vadanam, his elephant head. Sundaram, he's beautiful. And so all the attributes to Lord in the form. So we meditate on that form. This is called Saguna Dhyana. On some attribute. Then second is known as Nirguna Dhyana, meditation on formless. So God who is absolute, who is formless. So when we meditate on formless, that is Nirguna Dhyana. So in Kriya practice, we do Nirguna Dhyana, meditation on formless. So this dhyana is meditation. It is uninterrupted flow. Sri Lahiri Mahasaya told about dhyana that where the mind is concentrated, means desha, where the mind is concentrated, uniqueness of knowledge, in other words, a continuous state of balance is known as meditation. So suppose in a particular place we keep the mind as fixed, and then it becomes a continuous flow, means there is no separation. We become one with that object. That is meditation. So in this sutra, what says Patanjali is telling? He is telling that meditation, dhyana, is derived. It is actually derived from root verb in Sanskrit, dhyai. Dhyai means to think and to meditate upon. Also, it can be split in two parts like dhya and na. So dhya means thought, and na means no or negation. That means dhyana. Dhyana means no thought. Concentration or dharana means one thought only. And dhyana means no thought. So from one thought, we go to no thought state. So it is very simple way, and it could be said that the mind means many thoughts, contemplation means selected thoughts, concentration, the next level is only one thought, and meditation is no thought. So this is how we progress. So heterogeneous thoughts bring distraction and restlessness. Homogeneous thoughts bring calmness. Because when we have different kinds of thoughts, different vrittis, they pull and push in our mind in different direction. But when we have similar thoughts, then it brings us to the state of contemplation, then just one thought, concentration, and then no thought. So it brings more peace and calmness. As meditation is a no thought state, it is not describable, because many times people ask that, what do we think when we meditate? So in meditation, there is no question of thought, because you go beyond body, beyond mind. So if you are beyond mind, you transcend the mind, there is no question of thought. You become thoughtless, just like in deep state of sleep. In your deep sleep state, there is no thought, there is no ego, there is no sense of world or even body consciousness. You have nothing, just you are in no thought state. And that happens unconsciously. But in our meditation, we transcend consciously these states, and we go to the state where there is no more thought. We are just a formless, thoughtless state of nothingness, you can say. And it is said in the Jnana Sankalini Tantra, verse number 55, na dhyanam dhyanam ityahu समाधो तत्तु भूयते नहीं न ध्यानम ध्यानम इत्याहु ध्यानम शून्यगतम मनः. Meditation is that in which the mind becomes completely void, means there is no thought. And in another scripture, it says that dhyana sanlina manasa. Shri Gurudev used to refer this dhyana sanlina manasa, means when your mind becomes completely one or absorbed, engrossed with the object of meditation, that's the state of meditation. So there is no thought, there is no separation with the meditator and the object of meditation. Subject and object, they become one at that time. So meditation is no thought state. In description, there is imagination. When we describe something, then there's imagination. But meditation, you can't explain. It is the experience. So meditation, again, especially in Kriya practice, we practice different techniques for concentration, for meditate, for other things. But meditation is not a technique, it is a state. So when it is a state, you cannot practice, because you can practice the technique only. Meditation is the result of practice of certain techniques. So meditation in reality is to be experienced. It cannot be expressed. One who meditates enjoys and can tell, but in words, you can't really explain it much. It is beyond the play of mind, thought, intellect, and ego. The state of meditation comes through the practice of concentration or dharana. Because if there is no dharana, if your mind is not focused in one point or one object, then you cannot meditate, because meditation is next state from one thought to no thought. But by the grace of God and masters, a person can attain a deep state of meditation without any effort, just by grace. So without the grace of God and gurus, our meditation, real meditation, is not possible. We put our effort, but with grace, we can go deeper, and then further stage comes. So meditation is like a sleep. It is said that sleep is deep meditation without consciousness, whereas meditation is deep sleep with consciousness. And about this dhyana, there is another definition you can find. It is in Maitreya Upanishad. In Maitreya Upanishad, it says, Abheda darshanam jnanam, dhyanam nirvishayam manah, snanam manomala tyagaha, shaucham indriya nigraha. So there are four things are mentioned here. True knowledge means jnana. True knowledge is to see identity or union. That means no duality. Meditation is the thoughtless state of the mind. The real bath is the purity of mind. Real calmness is control over the sense organs. That is Indriya Nigraha. So this says Dhyanam Nirvishya Manaha. Meditation is the state of thoughtlessness. Ni means without, Vishaya means object. So in the meditation, there is no object. What does it mean? In concentration, we can use certain objects like divine light, divine sound, divine pulsation, breath, or chakra. But in meditation, we go beyond these also. If something remains in the background, that's different thing. We don't pay attention to that. So in meditation, we do not pay attention to breath, body, mind, or anything. We go beyond. That means nirvishaya. Ni means without. Vishaya, there's no object, there's no support. We go beyond all supports. We transcend all limitations. That is what is dhyana or meditation. And Sage Patanjali also says that meditation as a state is telling that meditation is the state where there is unbroken flow of knowledge. Pratyaya. Pratyaya ekatanata. Pratyaya means trust, conception, reliance, idea, or knowledge. So flow of knowledge that I am one with divine. This continuous flow, unbroken flow, ekatanata, this is the state of meditation. That I am nothing except one, and I am absorbed with that object. So I am meditating on formless divinity, I am becoming that. Now the question comes, how to meditate? It can be, Guruji has given this example, that it can be compared with going to bed, in which sleep eventually comes. Sometimes people ask that how can I go to meditation, or how can I really go deep in meditation? So you know that it is not a technique. So if it is not technique, you can't practice, as I said. And also, just like sleep, do you have effort to go to sleep? Yes. To go to the bed, you have effort. But once you lie down, there is no effort. It comes automatically. Similarly, the meditation happens. It's not that you have to put effort to meditate. You practice some technique. That is effort. But meditation is effortless state. There's no more effort. Up to certain techniques, there is effort. Once you go to that state of meditation, there's no more effort. So practice this art of concentration constantly. Then meditation will happen. So regular and systematic practice of pranayama leads to concentration and then to meditation. So this is how we go. Now there is a small difference, a little difference between dharana and dhyana. So dharana and dhyana, the difference is that in the dharana or in concentration, our mind or our modified mind is established in one place, one object. So in that, there is not much, what I am meditating upon is not important. We are just trying to fix up the mind there. But in the, like I am meditating or I am thinking about this object is not the goal there in dharana. But in dhyana or in meditation, we become one with that object. So you can see that object and subject are a little different. There is separation. this duality when you are in dharana, but in dhyana, you become one with that object. So this is a just minor difference. So dharana and dhyana. I'm not going deeper into that aspect of dhyana because you have to learn and practice it. And now the third limb, the next limb of Ashtanga Yoga or 8 limbs. So we discussed dharana, dhyana. Now, once we enter into the state of meditation, then follows the next one, which is called samadhi. So what is samadhi? This is a little definition here in the third sutra of third book. Object devoid of everything else is called samadhi. So the definition here is tad eva arthamatra nirbhasam swarupa shunyam eva samadhi. That alone, when shining in the light of the object of meditation, as if void or empty, is samadhi. So dhyana is like that you are entering a room. So you are at the doorstep. You are at the door, but you have not really gone deep into the or inside the room. So samadhi is like going inside and completely merge. So that alone, when shining in the light of object or of meditation, as if void or empty. So samadhi, again, as we cannot explain dhyana or meditation, samadhi also you can't explain. It is much more beyond our scope. The commentary by Lahiri Mahasaya, it says, the meditator, dhyata, is the mind. Dhyaya, the object of meditation, is God, who is formless, Brahman. And dhyana is meditation. So there are triputi, 3 things are there. When we meditate, so 3 things, 3 elements are there. Dhyata, dhyana, and dhyaya. So dhyata means the person, subject, meditator, which is mind in this case, because we are identifying not with the body, but we are going further. Dhyaya means the object of meditation, who is none but formless divinity. And dhyana is the process of meditation. So object, subject, and process. These 3 things, they merge together. In dhyana, what is happening? There is still uh, that I am meditating, and I am meditating upon a certain object, whether it is external or internal. But in dhyana, as there too, but this process also merges into, in the state of samadhi, no distinction between these 3. So when these 3 become one in experience, one who is meditating means object, subject, and the process, everything merges. And even the knowledge that one is meditating is gone, because in the state of meditation, we still have this sense that I am meditating upon something. But here, in state of samadhi, that also goes away. Then this state, one who experiences this state, this is one's real nature as empty or void, and this is called samadhi. So object, subject, and process also merges. That happens in samadhi. Now, Sage Patanjali is talking about this final limb here, samadhi, which is the 8th limb of yoga. Samadhi may be split into the root verb, like it comes from the root of sam. Sam means completely, samyak, or towards, and dha, another root word, dha. Dha means to direct, to contain. And e, samadhi, sama, dha, and e, samadhi. So E means with knowledge or power. So samadhi is a state when consciousness is completely directed towards the goal. Means there is no distinction. Completely directed towards the goal. It is also translated as the deep contemplation, a super conscious state, enlightenment, trance, an unperturbed state. Some say total calmness and peace, of the purest form of love. There are different ways to, again, with any word, we cannot explain it. Dharana, where the mind is tight, is the narrowness of the path. Dhyana is the saturation of mind in love, and samadhi is the state of super consciousness where all narrowness is destroyed. So it is the state of complete divine intoxication. And if you read the Vishnu Purana, there's a beautiful verse in Vishnu Purana about this state, samadhi. It says, Tasyaiva kalpanahinam swarupa grahanam hi yat manasa dhyana nispadyam samadhi saha abhidhiyate. When the mind is free from all imaginations and assumes its real nature, the state of meditation by the mind follows, and it leads to the state known as samadhi. So it begins in three stages: dharana, dhyana, and then it leads to samadhi. So and in the Garuda Purana also, there is another verse which says about, let me see what Garuda Purana says about samadhi. It says, ध्येयम ही एव सर्वत्र ध्याता तन्मयताम गतः पश्यति द्वैतरः हितम samadhi sa abhidhiyate. The object of meditation is experienced everywhere. So in the state of samadhi, what is happening? The object of meditation is experienced everywhere. One who meditates attains that state. One is free from dualities. So such a state is known as samadhi. So one becomes free from duality. In other words, you can say that we in samadhi state, your own consciousness you can experience everywhere. You become one with the universe. You don't feel that you are separate from universe. So it's like your own consciousness is playing everywhere in different names and forms. There is no duality. You see oneness with everything. So that state of samadhi. Then it says, in this verse, Sage Patanjali is telling that two expressions is telling artha matra nirbhasam. Artha matra nirbhasam, and then he is telling swarupa shunyam when he is explaining samadhi state. So artha matra nirbhasam means shining of the goal alone. So the goal of your meditation, that shines, and swarupa shunya, true form appearing as void. So swarupa means your own form becomes shunya, means you feel your body or mind, there is nothing in that case. You become shunya, means completely formless. So arthamatra nirbhasam, shining of the goal, means the goal is divinity. Goal is not the world. In meditation, there is presence of three things we discussed. The dhyata, one who meditates, subject, dhyana, the meditation process, and dhya, the object of meditation. When meditation comes to the state of saturation, so the first two means dhyata and dhyana, means the one who meditates means the subject, and the dhyana, this process, they dissolve. Only the object or the goal of meditation remains as luminous one. So when the meditation come to state of saturation, the object and the process, they dissolve, and only you know the goal. The object remains, that on whom you are meditating, it remains as luminous one. That is shining of the goal. Arthamata nirbhasam. Bhasam is Then second Sage Patanjali is talking is Swarupa Shunyam, the void or your essential form. So this state appears as nothingness, emptiness or a void. Because formless, soul is formless, God is formless. So you reach that state in samadhi that you experience that vast, your essential form, which is void, which is nothing, just formlessness. So if you remember in the first book, when Sage Patanjali speaks about samadhi, the different states of samadhi also are discussed. So with the perfection of concentration, meditation comes. With saturation of meditation, one is blessed with samadhi. So this is the way we proceed. The object of meditation is experienced everywhere. So in dhyana, what is happening? We are still limited. We are focusing and then we are becoming one with the object of meditation, but there is still some sense that I am meditating on this object. And at the same time, we are experiencing the object of meditation only in limited place. But now in the state of samadhi, the object of meditation, who is none but formless God, is experienced everywhere. And that is what happens, that when one is established in samadhi, one not only experiences his own form as one with divine, but when one comes out of samadhi also, one sees the same, one experiences the same form, same state everywhere. So one who meditates attains that state, and one is free from dualities, and such a state is said to be samadhi. Now, these three together, when we practice regularly every single day, dharana, dhyana, samadhi, in the step by step in practice, then what happens? So these three together, now Sage Patanjali is talking about these three together as Samyama. Samyama, you remember the yama. So now Samyama means complete discipline, complete oneness. In the fourth sutra, Sage Patanjali is talking about the combination of dharana, dhyana and samadhi as Samyam. So Trayam Ekatra Samyama. The three together is known as Samyama, or you can say thorough mastery. Complete mastery comes when you are established and you attain these three together. So what is Samyama? We'll discuss a little bit more. Trayam Ekatra Samyama, taking three together. So concentration, meditation and samadhi, these three practices taken together or maintained as one object is the definition of Samyama. In this sutra, Sage Patanjali is giving very special definition of Samyama. Or you can say perfection in self-discipline. In the introduction to Path of Yoga, the sage speaks about the 8 limbs, and the first limb he has discussed was yama or ethical lifestyle. And now the samadhi, the 8th one, again he's speaking about samyama. So first one was yama, now samyama means complete control. Sam means actually proper or perfect, samyak. And that which is well done. Yama means self-discipline. So Samyama means thorough or perfect discipline. What is this state of Samyama? The sage emphasizes that dharana, dhyan and samadhi, concentration, meditation and realization, together they are known as Samyama. These three are not three different stages, rather they are correlated, well connected and integrated. So metaphorically, Samyam is another name of Kriya Yoga. If you remember in the second book of first sutra, the sage Patanjali has given definition of Kriya Yoga as Tapa Swadhyaya Ishwar Pranidhanani Kriya Yoga. So Tapa means discipline, Swadhyaya means self-inquiry, self-study, and Ishwar Pranidhan, surrender to God, constitute Kriya Yoga. Now if you correlate here, Tapa is the path of action, Karma Yoga. Tapa is related to dharana, concentration. Swadhyaya is the state of knowledge. It is related to dhyana or meditation. And Ishwar Pranidhan, the art of divine love, is samadhi, realization. So Tapa, Swadhyaya, Ishwar Pranidhan, and Kriya Yoga. So here Dharana, Dhyan, and Samadhi, Samyam is Kriya Yoga. And we practice these three together, not separately. Step by step we practice, and then we are integrating them together to reach the highest state. Now, in these three states, a person focuses attention on experiences, the real doer, and completely surrenders or becomes one with the real doer, and real doer is God. We are not the doer. We perform action out of ego. We think we do. But Sri Gurudev always mentioned, if there is no breath, then you are dead body. You cannot do anything. So real doer, real performer for action is God. So Sage Patanjali says here, three components of Kriya Yoga are practiced in an integrated manner. It leads one to enlightenment. And this result is also known as Samyama. So Samyama means the practice of self-discipline, the practice of Kriya Yoga, the establishment in truth, or you can say attainment of blissful state, or beginning and end of sadhana. It is the beginning and the end of sadhana. The tapah, swadhyaya, ishwar pranidhanani, or you can say dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. You begin and you finish here. In Bhagavad Gita, there is a verse which speaks about Samyama. It says, Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehina, in the second chapter, 59th verse. Rasavarjam rasopyasya param drashtva nivartate. The sense objects recede from an abstinent man, with the exception of taste. Even taste falls away after the absolute is realized. That means when a person attains samadhi or realization, that person becomes free from the play of all the mind, senses, and so-called things which bind us in this creation. He becomes free from all this play of Maya. So the three, Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi, they are well integrated in Kriya Yoga. Whereas the first sutra of Sadhana Pada starts with the introduction of Kriya Yoga. Because if you remember Tapa, Swadhyaya, Ishwara Pranidhana, that was the first sutra of second book. Now here, Sage is explaining the ultimate state of emancipation, which can be achieved through the practice of Kriya Yoga. Now, what happens if we get mastery over Samyam, means over the period of time when a person achieves this state, Dharana, Dhyan, Samadhi, they continuously become one, then the effect is mentioned in the next sutra, sutra number 4 in third book. It says, Tat Jayat Pragya Alokah. Tat Jayat Pragya Alokah means by mastering the Samyama, there is light of wisdom. Pragya Aloka, light of wisdom. What does it mean? This is the result. So result is when we master Samyama, we get the light of wisdom. Sri Lahiri Mahasaya said, having thoroughly achieved Samyama, one attains or experiences the light of wisdom. Wherever there is practice of Samyama, there will be a manifestation of the light of knowledge. That means there is no more ignorance. That person remains realized always. Here Sage speaks about Samyama Jaya, Jayat, which means the perfection is thoroughly mastered by oneself. Samyama having been described in the earlier sutra also, now Sage Patanjali is telling the benefit of Samyama. So once a person is established Samyama, one attains Pragya Aloka. So what does it really mean? Samyama leads to accumulation of strength. It leads to a state of perfection. Practice of self-mastery is not for just few hours, few days, or few years, but rather it is one's entire life. That is called self-mastery. It is the cultivation of inner awareness for every moment of our existence. That means, if you remember, Shri Guruji says to live from moment to moment as he does. He says, I live from moment to moment, means just in that moment I am there always. So this is what is called Samyama or perfection, living from moment to moment. And this leads to complete continuity, means not a single moment you lose experience of divinity. It's moment to moment you are experiencing always, whether you are wakeful or in any state, with your closed eyes or open eyes, doesn't matter. So the words of Master and the scriptures, along with the knowledge conceived according to one's own talent, are both indirect and borrowed knowledge. Because we discussed before also, knowledge that what we learn from other sources like our teacher, our scriptures, this knowledge is indirect because it is not direct knowledge. But the samadhi, the samyama, it is direct knowledge. So when practiced faithfully, this borrowed knowledge from external sources, it becomes gradual experience. For example, teacher explains that this is this. So we have this information, we put into practice and we get this direct experience. So indirect knowledge becomes our direct knowledge. From knowledge, one goes to state of super consciousness, cosmic consciousness, and wisdom, prajna. And it is a gradual process of evolution. What is attained through perfection is in self-mastery. So the question comes that what is attained through perfection in self-mastery, Samyama? So the answer here it is prajna loka. That means prajna loka. So we can explain it like prajna loka and prajna aloka, two ways if we split it. So prajna means wisdom, loka means the plane. So you remain in the plane of wisdom always. Like we have Earth planet, there are different planes of existence. It's 7 chakras. It's so 7 planes of existence above. So we live in the plane of wisdom. And if we split like prajna aloka, then we live in the light of wisdom and ultimate knowledge. However, one reaches the state of realization, or you can say one reaches the state or plane of wisdom, prajna loka, or experiences the light of wisdom. What is prajna? Prajna is complete knowledge, perfect wisdom. Shri Gurudev used to explain these stages. He said that jnana, vijnana, prajnana. So jnana means knowledge, information from external sources, which is just information. Vijnana means applied knowledge. So what knowledge you get from external sources, you put into practice. So you apply it. When you apply, you get experience. And when you direct experience, that is prajnana. So here prajna is complete knowledge or perfect wisdom. And this is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita in the 6th chapter, verse number 24. So let's discuss prajna loka. Here you'll see prajna. This word is beautiful here. In Bhagavad Gita it says, in the 21st verse, Sukham atyantikam yattat buddhi grahya mativendriya vetti yatra na chaivayam sthitaschalati tattvataha. Then absolute happiness is experienced, which is recognized by the intellect, but is beyond sense perception. Being established in the self, the mind never moves away from the truth. So this is the state of pragyaloka, means after mastery over the samyama, one always remains in that state of pragyaloka, the light of knowledge. It is also, if you think about the Shveta Upanishad, and Mundak Upanishad has the same mantra as well as Kathopanishad. This mantra you can find in these three Upanishad, and very often it is used, referred by Sri Gurudev, as well as when we do ritualistic practice, we do arati. We show lamp or camphor, vesper. So this is the mantra we chant. न तत्र सूर्यो भाति न चंद्र तारकम न इमा विद्युतः भान्ति कुतः अयम अग्निः त्वम एव भान्तम अनुभाति सर्वम तस्य भासा सर्वमिदं विभाति. The sun does not shine there, neither the moon, nor could the star illuminate. So also lightning cannot shine. What to speak of that fire or light? Because of its illumination, all else is illuminated, and with its light, all are lighted. This actually speaks about a state. We go there, na tatra suryo bhati. We go there where there is no light of sun, moon, star, fire, lightning, nothing lights, but there is only light of your self-knowledge, wisdom, pragya aloka. So this is pragya aloka. The sun does not. This mantra is very beautiful mantra. And some other day I had explained the metaphorical meaning, that what is sun, what is moon, what is fire. So sun is Pingala Nadi, Ida Nadi is moon, and Sushumna is the fire. So we go beyond these three. So there's a lot of metaphorical meaning also. However, when we practice three together, the dharana, dhyana, and samadhi, we are established in that state, and then the result is we always remain in the light of knowledge, pragyaloka. So in short, we just touch base these verses, these sutras, three sutras together. But in Kriya practice, we focus on these three together. Practice regularly, every day, and then you will realize that you reach that state where there is no difference between you and this universe. You feel oneness when you are in meditation, as well as when you are in the world. You start feeling that oneness, universal consciousness everywhere. So this is how we practice. Na tatra suryo bhati. I'm praying to God, and in the next class we will discuss little bit more about the vibhuti, that what happens when we do samyama on a particular object. What is the yogic power we get? So we'll try to see if we can cover that. Close the eyes. May all become happy and healthy, loving, noble, and compassionate. May there be no suffering, no sorrow. May there be more love, peace, and harmony among us and in this entire creation. Thank you all. I bow to divinity in all of you. See you again next time.